Welcome to the lab. Today, we're diving into some pure launch monitor data to answer a question I know a lot of us have asked. Are everyday golfers just overpaying for the industry's most famous premium ball? You know, if you've ever stood on the tee box wondering whether the name stamped on your ball is actually helping your game or just, well, draining your wallet, you are in exactly the right place for this explainer. To really get to the bottom of this, we set up the ultimate test. We fired exactly 400 shots through our launch monitor, pitting the $55 Titleist Pro V1 directly against the $48 Srixon Z-Star. We ran them through the entire protocol, and honestly, we found a massive, completely unexpected performance gap in a place we least expected. No fluff, no brand hype, just straight, hard data to see if you're paying what we kind of like to call the Titleist tax for a ball that might actually be costing you strokes. Now, right off the bat, it's absolutely crucial to note that we built this test specifically for 10 to 30 handicaps with an average 92 mile/hour driver swing speed. Because let's be real, testing balls at PGA Tour swing speeds doesn't give everyday players the answers they actually need. So by skipping the tour specs and dialing our launch monitor right into the sweet spot of the average golfer, we're going to give you real-world data that directly applies to your weekend round. Okay, so looking at the tail of the tape, on paper, both of these are premium 3-piece urethane tour balls built for top-tier performance from tee to green. But it's those subtle differences that are key. The gold standard Pro V1 has an 87 compression rating and 388 dimples. The Z-Star, on the other hand, comes in slightly firmer at a 90 compression with Srixon's fast layer DG core, and it's paired with a 338 speed dimple pattern. A lot of golfers think, a 3-point difference in compression doesn't matter. But wow, just wait until you see the numbers. But before we start hitting drivers, we absolutely have to highlight the Z-Star's secret weapon. It's called their Spin Skin Plus coating with CRM. It's this highly flexible urethane layer mixed with what they call slide ring material. Now, as you'll see a bit later, this specific combination completely flips the script when we get to the short game data. Seriously, keep this coating in the back of your mind because it's the driving force behind the biggest surprise of our entire test.
All right, let's jump into driver and long game, distance and wind resistance.
So we kick things off on the tee, setting our monitor for that 92 mile/hour swing. We hit 50 shots with each ball throughout the crazy miss hits to get a super clean baseline, and here's what we saw. The Pro V1, it delivered exactly the reliable stability you'd expect. We're talking 135.1 miles/hour of ball speed, a 13.8-degree launch angle, and 232 yards of carry, rolling out to about 255. But look at the Z-Star right below it. With basically identical ball speed, the Z-Star launched slightly lower at 13.2 degrees, spun a little less at 2,580 RPM, and because of that slightly more optimal flight, it actually carried 2 yards longer and gave us an extra 3 yards of total roll.
Now, distance on a monitor in a vacuum is great, but golf is played outside in the elements, right? So we introduced a 15 mile/hour crosswind into our simulation. And guys, this is where the physics of ball design truly kick in. In that heavy crosswind, the Z-Star's 338 speed dimple pattern physically produced less drag. It held its line noticeably better than the Pro V1. Honestly, if you play on breezy days, having a wind sheeting trajectory like that is a massive, massive advantage off the tee.
Moving right along to iron play and accuracy, finding the green. For this, we hit 50 shots with a 78 mile/hour 7-iron swing. Because for a mid-handicapper, your primary goal completely shifts here. Absolute distance takes a backseat to predictable distance control, right? You need to know for sure that your iron shot isn't going to randomly jump 10 yards over the back of the green. And in perfectly calm conditions, the Titleist Pro V1 was phenomenally consistent. It produced this beautiful, repeatable flight with 6,200 RPM a spin and a gorgeous 46-degree landing descent angle. It gave us an ultra-tight 12-yard left-to-right dispersion circle. For front-to-back predictability in perfect weather, it's just a brilliantly engineered golf ball.
However, the Srixon Z-Star gave us almost identical backspin, 6,150 RPM, but its flight window was just a bit more piercing. While the Pro V1 held a tiny edge in calm conditions, everything changed when we simulated an into-the-wind approach. The Z-Star completely refused to balloon. It basically punched straight through the headwind, maintaining its trajectory and distance far, far better than its competitor.
And that brings us to the short game showdown, the 50-yard pitch test.
You're going to want to stick around for this, because taking these balls to the short game area generated the exact data that completely changed our final recommendation. Everything we've seen so far has been kind of close, but the wedge game is where the true separation really happens. This is where premium urethane golf balls truly earn their price tag, because you score around the green. So, We set up 50-yard pitch shots using a 56-degree wedge with fresh grooves to measure maximum stopping power. We wanted to know which ball actually stops faster and gives you the grip you need to attack a tight pin.
The Titleist Pro V1 set an absolutely exceptional baseline for us here. It checked in at 9,800 revolutions per minute. I mean, when it hits the green, it takes one hop, grabs the turf, and just stops dead. There is a very, very good reason why it has been the undisputed industry standard for greenside control for literally decades. But then, the Z-Star delivered an absolute knockout blow. On those exact same 50-yard pitch shots, it jumped to an astonishing 10,400 revolutions per minute. Guys, that is a massive 600 RPM difference. For everyday golfers who, might struggle to nip the ball perfectly clean every single time, that extra check is the literal difference between holding the fringe safely or trickling way down into an unplayable lie.
And this happens entirely because of that spin skin plus coating we talked about earlier. That massive extra check is physically caused by that flexible coating digging deeper and staying longer in your wedge grooves during impact. The friction generated is significantly higher, resulting in that spectacular spike in spin rate. It's a real game changer around the greens.
But what about durability, right? After all this aggressive wedge testing, we took a really close look at the covers. The Pro V1 showed some minor scuffing, which is pretty typical, but the Z-Star's slidering material actually absorbed the shearing forces of the wedge grooves better and left its cover noticeably cleaner than the Pro V1. So you're getting more spin, and the ball actually stays looking fresh longer. Win-win.
So let's get to the final verdict. Which ball actually belongs in your bag?
After strictly analyzing the driver data, the iron dispersion, the wind simulations, and those crazy short game spin rates, we have an honest, no fence-sitting answer. The crucial point is this: if your number one priority is the softest putter feel and flawless quality control regardless of price, sure, the Pro V1 remains the king. But for everyday 10 to 30 handicaps playing in real-world winds, the Z-Star absolutely outperforms it. You get equal driver distance, superior wind stability, a more durable cover, and that crucial 600 RPM more greenside spin, all while keeping $7 in your pocket on every single dozen. For the everyday player, the Z-Star is simply the smarter purchase, hands down. So, before you head out for your next round, I really want you to ask yourself, is the brand name stamped on your golf ball truly maximizing your unique swing speed and style of play? Or are you leaving strokes out on the course just to play the same ball as the pros on TV? Drop the name of your current ball in the comments below and let us know if this explainer helped you see past the marketing hype. Honestly, have you ever actually tested your gear on a launch monitor, or do you kind of just buy what's popular? Think about it. The right data might just save you a few strokes and a few bucks this weekend. Keep learning,